Welcome everybody to interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Haig John, and we have James Chester from Chiro Hustle. I'm so excited to have my friend on our podcast. I've been on his, and last we were together, we broke bread together. And now we are breaking, I was going to say breaking air, but that wouldn't be a good one. But we are now breaking the internet. How about that? And on this awesome podcast today, I'm stoked to have you. Welcome, James Chester.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you, man. You've been doing a lot of great work for a long time as an amazing advocate of chiropractic, and you have been changing the world from your end. You know, what is it that makes you tick, man? Tell us a little bit about the story of James Chester.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot that goes into this profession of chiropractic.
Yeah.
And, I've had a chance to be around this profession now for 16 years. That's just me being like somewhat of a role within the profession. Being a patient's a whole different level.
Yep.
I started out as a patient at 16. So I started to understand the power of chiropractic from those teenage years. No one was teaching me what chiropractic was.
Yeah.
Um, I think I found it a lot of the same way that many people do as they're developing and they're athletes. They get some type of an injury. Next thing you know, they go down the path and they eventually find what chiropractic does because it's different than everything else in the world. So at 16 years old, I hurt myself playing high school sports, football specifically. And my coach said, "Hey, you should go to Palmer and get some x-rays on your shoulder." The athletic trainer and him like decided that was the path. Anyways, being a minor, my mom went with me. And I go over to Palmer College. They do x-rays of my shoulder. And then they asked my mom if they could x-ray my spine to see if I had any subluxations.
Fantastic.
Right.
Now, this is
And
Palmer College, Chiropractic College in Davenport, Iowa, correct?
yeah, yeah.
The
Yep.
Fountainhead. Okay.
hmm So that's where I grew up. I lived 30 years in Davenport, Iowa. And when I got adjusted, it did something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing else I had ever done in my entire life did that. And, I was a patient many years at Palmer and knew all the staff doctors, all the docs that were taking care of their pods that were actually helping graduate the students to become proficient adjusters. And everybody, it was like always a highlight for me to go in and see the docs and meet the new interns and,
Yeah.
learn the new technique that this new intern was going to be using.
Yeah.
And I, I just knew that the profession was super powerful.
You know, you said it did something to you that's never happened before. Can you describe what did that mean? Describe, because we have a lot of listeners that are not chiropractors. Okay.
hmm
So, we want to inspire some. We have some that are interested in going to chiropractic school or even getting to a chiropractor. So, did you just feel better or did something else ignite in you?
Well, coming from a teenage life to my 20s, up until 30 is when I left Davenport. But 16 to 30, I got to know chiropractic students. I got to know the profession quite intimately, where my friends now that were coming to Davenport that I made, connections with, they were now students at Palmer in my 20s.
Yeah.
So same age,
Mm-hmm.
doing same life, running the same circles.
Mm-hmm.
And these are still my great friends today.
Great.
But I'll tell you, like the adjustment alone, I learned the different techniques. And I didn't know what chiropractic artistry was when people were adjusting me, when they were doing Nuka Care, when they were doing Blair, when they were doing Palmer Package Diversified,
Mm-hmm.
when they were doing an anterior move on my thoracic, or if
Yeah.
they would do some type of uh, high velocity move and adjust my neck. Like I didn't know what any of this stuff was.
Sure.
I just knew that when I got my neck adjusted and my uh, extremities adjusted and my hips leveled out, I could just run better.
Yeah,
And I was an elite athlete, and I knew that when my body was tuned right, I performed better on the field.
absolutely. And you don't have to be an athlete, you just perform better. It's, I'm thinking I got adjusted today and I'm thinking, man, I was just, I didn't feel great. I was probably a little grouchy. And, after that adjustment, it was like, we make this like, what? Like the lights come on of, holy crap, could I possibly live that way the rest of my life without that adjustment? Or to rather live clear like this right now of a subluxation being adjusted, pressure off my brainstem.
Well, it was, it wasn't so, I didn't understand that.
Right. I've been in chiropractic quite a while, and it's taken me even just to see myself of when I need an adjustment, and then finally getting that adjustment, such a big deal for me now. And it's become more a big deal as I've gone through my life. I've realized what a big deal it is.
Mm. Yes. So getting adjusted to me was, it just made me perform better, man. And
Yeah,
I knew that there was an opportunity for me to come in and do something with my life. I never wanted to be a doctor. So anybody out there, it's like, hey, why don't you go to chiropractic school? Like, cat's out of the bag. I am not a hands-on practitioner.
sure.
I'm a communicator.
Yeah,
I'm a passionate human, but never once in my life did I say I'm going to be a doctor. So that's why I made friends with the greatest profession in the world
yeah,
that produces chiropractors that call themselves doctors because of the system.
yeah,
But I started to understand that chiropractic was something that was life-giving to people.
sure.
And it just happens to be that I grew up in the town that the whole profession started.
Well, I mean, and look where it's brought you. You've brought notoriety to the profession. Now, let's get the next part of this timeline. Okay. I think you've told me you started working for some chiropractors, doing some marketing and getting out and doing screenings where you are. Listen, if there's a stud in a screening, it's James Chester. I think I'm a badass at doing screenings. James Chester is literally the ninja of screenings. Alaska, how many do you, what was last year? Was it 800? No,
No, our best years was 665 up
like
there.
665 new patients in the door to chiropractors. Incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that you get to a certain point where you schedule 11,000 new patients in that it's almost like I'm looking for a new game,
Okay.
and doing the same thing over and over. Like I know I can go and do everything that I do and it produces.
Yeah.
And the people are thankful, the clients are thankful. We change lives, we grow practices, we save people from drugs and surgery. Like there's a big ethos project behind it. Um, but yeah, the whole screening thing is like I could go anywhere and it would work. It's a system, it's a methodology, it's a framework that I can pretty much say two to three things, and I can either qualify somebody and they'll say yes, or I can actually get them to say no. Like
Okay.
I've done it so long now that it's conversational, and I am five steps ahead of the person I'm talking to knowing what exactly is going to happen. And I
Can you
think that
share
that
some?
that, that that's the beauty of becoming like the expert.
Yeah, that's right. And now, of course, can you share those 2 words? You said 2 words or 3 words. What would you share to somebody? Not everybody's James Chester. Most guys and girls, women are in their office. They're, hustling every day, caring for people, changing lives. And then you also have to be your marketer, right? Get out, do some screenings. And not everyone has that one step to that gift of gab, right? What word of advice or input would you give to that practitioner or whomever it might be, or your younger self?
Um, my biggest takeaway is this might be a misdirection for your question, but it's honest. Don't give yourself a job that sucks. If it's something that you're not going to want to do and it's going to be a challenge energetically and you're going to feel put out by doing it, go find another way to grow your practice. I think that you should definitely go out there and put your best foot forward and give effort. But there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. There's a lot of, when I started doing this type of work, like the docs didn't want to go do it, so they threw me out to the wolves. Like I didn't know what I was doing. Um, and I had to go and do a lot of these things in order to find proficiency. Um, but to talk to somebody about going out there and doing a job, like nobody wants to go do a job that they don't want to do. So
That's
it
absolutely
doesn't
true.
it doesn't make sense to think that every chiropractor under the sun should be a marketer. Like that's a big problem is the chiropractor has to wear so many hats that now they're wearing the marketing hat and now they're not wearing the husband or wife hat. Now they're not wearing the dad hat and now they're not fulfilled because they're focusing on business where they should be focusing on family. So I don't think a chiropractor should do everything.
It's absolutely true. I mean, that's the thing is, the entrepreneur wears all the hats, whether it's the janitor for the day, the marketing person, the doctor, the office manager, the cleric, whatever it might be. And so, really, thank you for letting us off the hook. The hook, really. I mean, in a way, thanks. And that's an important thing that you said is finding something. I love doing talks and I also love doing screenings. Don't get me wrong. I truly love getting out and doing screenings. I do them in places I don't like sickness fairs, right? We call them health fairs, but they're really sickness fairs. So I like to go to the art festivals, the music shows. We go to, they have like the taco war food trucks. I love going to that because I eat really well and they always have great bands. So we have fun doing it. I bring my kids. It's not like you leave your family at home, you bring them. But for me, I enjoy that. It brings me joy to do those things. But you know what? Not if I have to do them all the time. And I'd like to do them when I want to do them. So what would you suggest? You said you're looking for you're in this next phase. This is the next step. Does it have to do with marketing, or is it within chiropractic marketing like this? Or let me hear from
Mm,
you.
yeah, you touch on some good points there about doing the work and
Yeah.
how to make it fun. Um, my perspective, just to go back a little bit before I go forward, is I really like the longer the event, the better. The more hours in the day, the better. The more people at the events, the better. I think that it gives you more of fulfillment when you get a chance to be at a busy location.
Oh yeah.
And I think that if you can pick out one of these types of events every quarter to do with you and your team, just do it. Go out there, serve, and do
Yeah.
your best job. Whether it's one person you schedule or 50 people you schedule on a weekend,
Yeah.
you have to go out there and get the reps in and grow the practice. So I'm not saying that chiropractors shouldn't do this type of stuff. I'm just saying that eventually you should pass the torch and build a system to where you aren't dependent upon going out there to do the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise advice. I go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and moving forward,
Yeah.
um, I think the most lonely place for a chiropractor is thinking that they have to do it all. And that's a really painting yourself into a corner mentality. I have to do the billing. I have to do the adjusting. I have to do the training. I have to do the accounting. I have to do the patient notes. I have to do the dad. I have to do the mom. I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. I do these calls now that are really, you asked me what I'm doing now. I've been doing these calls now for the past, like, I don't know, month or so. I call them the $1 million calls. And I distill everything that I've learned through men's groups, through accountability groups, through doing 75 hard 5 times, through understanding like high level performers. And I've developed this strategy that I walk people through. We should do one for you too. Um, but it's called the $1 million call. And I walk people through, it's about anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and I take people through the strategic clarity session, and I find out who they are. They find out who they are, and they're able to find new pathways to filling in the gaps or knowing where their blind spots are. One of the cool things I do in these calls is I offer the people that I do the call with the opportunity to reach out to 5 people on my network that I'll make professional introductions to, that they can now take those relationships and move forward and get the cheat code to my network. And I think that that's a really cool thing of doing the podcast. We haven't gotten to that yet, but after doing so many interviews with people, I have like a database and a network second to none. So now I'm offering that up to people that I meet with on these calls. And I'm like, hey, pick 5 people out. I'm going to track this too, because I want to make sure that there's success from these introductions. So that's really exciting to me. All walks of
Sounds
life are
exciting.
all walks of life are coming into it. And the $1 million call is something that I urge everybody to like. If you watch this and you guys want to do one, they're not going to be free forever, but I'm working on my skill sets of filling in the gaps for myself on these calls. But eventually, they're going to be a high ticket opportunity for people to get on and have access to me and my network. So I've been curating these things, and it's a lot of fun. I did one yesterday, actually.
Well, can you give us the details and we'll put the link in there to connect with you? We'll put it in the description. And go ahead right now. Can you just share it with us?
I have a Calendly link I'll give to you.
Okay, fantastic.
But yeah, I think that a lot of people, even the top people, like honestly, I've talked to like very net, like positive people, like income wise, and they might be lacking spirituality in their life. So I give them strategies on how to get closer to spirituality. They might be lacking accountability. I give them strategies on how to build accountability for themselves. They might be lacking in personal care with their human performance of what they do to take care of themselves, to optimize themselves. I
Yeah.
fill in the gaps for them on those topics. I think that there's a lot when it comes to like understanding what your ideal day looks like and what you have to do to achieve that. And I think that so many times, even if you're doing the thing and you're great at your position, there's something else that needs to have support. So I think that that's the beautiful thing about doing so many interviews is this is where I belong.
Yeah.
I belong in front of people, and I belong in a position to help give clarity to people. And that's really what podcasting, I believe, is there's always somebody looking for solutions to their answers.
Hmm.
They just don't know where to go for it.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful thing about the passive information of podcasting is people can stumble upon it. They don't even know if it's for them, but they'll just give it a chance. And if it makes sense to them, it resonates with them. Hey, it might be the one thing that will like carry them through this chapter in their life.
Yeah. I was I met a chiropractic friend of mine at a coffee shop. We're having a coffee and a chat about how we can save the world, really. And a gentleman came over to me. He said, I didn't recognize your face, but I recognized your voice. I've been listening to your podcast for about whatever time, and I'm gonna. He started as a new person. We don't use the word patience. We're all people, but he started came into the office, and because of the podcast, he heard things. We've had people from all over the world send messages about, hey, you've helped me so much. I had a quadriplegic send me a message saying, I just feel so much courage when I listen to your podcast and I listen to you guys. We do a philosophy podcast as well called Synapse Philosophy Podcast. And it's chiropractic philosophy, but really it's philosophy for everyone in life. And then we have the interviews as well. And I also have another meditation one. But ultimately, when if you help one person, you're really helping millions, right? That flows out to the universe. That ripples out energy and literally changing the cosmos. And it's not one. If you know you're reaching one, you know you're reaching millions.
Well, I want to add something to that. Um, Courage. You said courage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think discourage is another, it's it's something that people get very frequently when they think about being a producer or creator, is they get discouraged and they don't stick with projects. And I think that that's the
Big
hardest
one.
thing is, and here's the other part of it is attention.
Yeah.
People sometimes create these projects like a Chiro Hustle podcast for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They make it about attention to them
Yeah.
and they make it about vanity metrics. And honestly, the first thing that most people want to ask me when they know I've been doing a podcast for almost 8 years, they want to ask me, um, how does it make me money? Or how many downloads do I get? And really, it just kind of triggers me to the point that I want to like say something like off the cuff to them to like push them away. But in all honesty, I kind of tell them, I'm like, look, it has to be something that it becomes a part of your life. Like you can't do these types of projects and make it about you.
Yeah.
That's why Hustle has done what it's done over the years, is because I made it about this profession.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big misnomer is people want to create a podcast to grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you should, because there's a strategy involved with building a podcast that now you can create content off that podcast episode. You can create buzz with sharing and co-mingling and cross-pollinating the guests into your network now, which becomes valuable over time. But I tell people like, look, if you're going to go do something like this, like for the first maybe 100 episodes, it's real work. It's real work.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you made it 100 episodes, you might have made it 2 years now. Like I think the most podcasts fall off after like 12 episodes or something. It's very, very limited like output for your ROI and what people think like why you're doing it. Like I never did this because I wanted to make myself a superstar. I never did this because I wanted to make money. I did this because there was a bigger calling to share the chiropractic message with the world.
Yeah. Our Synapse Philosophy podcast, we're the longest running Green Book philosophy podcast in the world. We started in about 2018, and there's long days, there's times you don't feel like doing it, and there's times you just have to. And I've taken breaks, but it's not always easy, but it's for the love of what we're doing is why you do it. It's cost me money. I tell you, it has not brought in. People think you get paid. They slice you checks from YouTube for having a podcast. That is completely untrue. So it has come back to me in the wealth of wisdom that I've experienced and the joy that I have doing it. And like I said, like a gentleman was a quadriplegic and told me, I get inspired to move forward every day listening to your podcast. Thank you. And literally, I mean, just saying that, I get tears welling up in my eyes that I've affected this at least this one person, but tens of thousands, hopefully millions in that process.
And you nailed it. Um, there's a growing ecosystem. There's 3,300,000 podcasts globally.
Is that right?
Our show, vanity metrics don't really impress me, but we're in the top 3 percentile of podcasts globally.
Wow.
Like when I think about the impact we're making for chiropractic, that almost gives me tears because I never wanted this to be about James Chester. I just knew that I was a catalyst. And if I could use my best skill sets, passion, communication, ethical stance on life, telling the truth, freedom of speech, family health freedom, medical freedom, talking about the philosophy of chiropractic, like, let's go. You
Yeah.
know, that's what the world is getting. And I think it's awesome that you've been focusing on the green books. Most people that I talk to don't even they've never even touched one.
And mostly, and I'll say this, we focus on the spiritual side of D.D. Palmer and B.J. Palmer. And I think that's one of the most important part because it's been pushed aside tremendously. If you don't have God in what we're doing, and I'm going to say that right now, you're really kind of doing something else. Okay. And we've forgotten about that, and the schools push it out. I might get in trouble for that, but I say it, and I've said it at every one of my seminars because it is absolutely true. And Dee Dee said it.
Well, at the end of my introduction to our show, I hammer that.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I say, I don't care if you guys listen to the rest of this episode. I just want you to make sure that you listen to this introduction. I mean, I care that people listen to the show, but within my first 2 minutes of fire that I open up every show with, I tell them we believe in subluxation based chiropractic. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but they're removing it out of the schools. The kids aren't learning this stuff. So if you know a student that is interested in chiropractic or somebody's in college or has been out for 2 to 5 years, share the show with them because now they're going to understand philosophy because this show delivers on that. And then I tell them that we also believe in innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and educated intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man and woman, the spiritual, which creates the educated intelligence. And I follow these people linear. And then I say, look, welcome to the show. But I really want to hammer that down every time because those basic mentions light people up. And
Absolutely.
I can see it's making an impact in the professional like stance around because I see more people talking about the spiritual aspect of the man or woman, the physical to man or woman, the spiritual, and how that transcends them to becoming an educated person.
Now you're hitting on it. I mean, I love it. And those that's all really wise wisdom that you're really sharing for the new practitioner, for the Chirosaurus that's been around forever. That's where it comes from. And when you have the fear, hey, this isn't easy. My mother had a radio show when I was a kid. I got on my first radio show with my mom at 8 years old and had a blast. She said, no dead air. That's the first thing she said to me, no dead air. So that's how it was instilled to me as a child. I love this type of podcasting. I love it. I enjoy it. And I love hanging out with you, my man, my brother from another mother. And we've had a lot of fun together. You've had me on your podcast like 3 or 4 times. Each time I've had a blast.
And that's just it is the people matter.
Mm-hmm.
Really deep down in like the softest part of my heart, it's people that matter. And if I can be a part of a project that helps, I'll dedicate the rest of my life to it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing that people have to understand is it's not a job for me. It's
Yeah.
my life. And chiropractic isn't something that, is some mystical creature that you can't find. Like it's on every corner in every city in every city in every state in every country. Like we just need to keep growing it.
Dee Palmer said it's for the denizens of the earth deserve it. It's not for the chiropractor to boost his own ego or self esteem or hers. It is for the denizens of the earth. We take no credit. People say, you healed me. I didn't heal you. I knew how to move the bone. God did the healing. Let's move forward and send me lots of referrals. And I ask for them. You tell people, James, brother, thank you so much. I've got to do my plug now because we've got a movie coming out. I'm also a filmmaker. We made a documentary. My litmus test is the Cairo documentary that you made, and we play that one all the time in the office, and I appreciate it. What was the name of it again? What's the full title?
Chiropractic, the documentary.
Perfect. So this is called Save the Babies. We have the CHD, the Children Health Defense crew there. It's with Brian Hooker live. We have Zen Honeycutt live from Moms Across America. Dr. Nancy Tarlow as well. And of course, yours truly, myself. Look for April around 2025. April, we'll have Save the Babies. That's when we're looking for the release. I feel it's going to be a world-changing event. This Saturday, I'll be at Sherman College of Chiropractic, and I'm teaching innate newborn adjusting and subluxation analysis. And where I developed that from is zero gravity off Earth care for our astronauts. I live on the Space Coast, and I'll be delivering my paper, the 45th annual space International Space Symposium in Orlando, Florida. So we've got a lot of big things coming up. That's not for me, but it's for chiropractic, which is not just for chiropractic. It's for the denizens of the earth that deserve this, and soon to be off Earth, because I'm a big nerd and I like they're playing with space stuff. So you know, thank you for being a part of enhancing this world, and I appreciate you, and God bless you. Any closing statements you'd like to share with us?
Oh boy. Um,
Oh boy.
I think anytime that I get a chance to share my message with people, it changes their outlook on life. And I think that that's just the real gift of God downloading that to me is go find something that you love doing.
Amen.
And I think that that's the most important thing is don't forget where you came from either. Um, just and if your parents are around and they're still alive, reach out to them, tell them you love them.
Both of my parents have passed. My mother about a year ago. Yours, I'm sure, is still very fresh with you as well. And so we're standing on the shoulders of all the generations that came before us that wanted just something a little bit better and a little bit better for their children. We are the pinnacle of that. And I always never, ever forget that. Thank you for sharing, my brother. God
Yeah,
bless you. Have a
thank you. You
beautiful
too.
day. And I feel blessed to have shared this time with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's powerful. And check out all the offerings that Haig's doing. Go to his seminar at Sherman. And yeah, if you guys get a chance, come and see us in Cuba in a couple weeks, February 16th through 18th, the Chiropractic Festival. We'll both be
That's right.
speaking together.
Absolutely, Cuba, the Valentine's weekend. Everybody should come and join us. We're sharing a stage together with a lot of amazing speakers. Oh my God, I'm a fan of every single speaker on the stage that's coming up there, and I'm just blessed to be up there, sharing a little bit of space with everyone as well. All right, my man, have a beautiful day. Bless you, and let's do it again soon.
Talk soon. Thanks.
Bye bye.